If I say that I'm going to build something, then who does it belong to? It belongs to me because I'm the one who built it. It doesn't belong to anyone else, just me. In Matthew chapter 16, verse 18, Jesus says, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Some people take this verse back to the original Greek and they say the word Peter means rock. And so their claim is that Christ built his church upon Peter. Now, we don't have to be Greek scholars to study every single part of the Bible. But if people are going to misuse the Greek, then it's worth figuring out what the Greek actually says. And here, just like with other languages, Spanish, French, German, for example, there are different genders associated with nouns, feminine and masculine. And so anything used to describe that noun must agree with that noun's gender. Here, the word Peter is masculine. However, when Jesus says, "Upon this rock I will build my church," the words "this" and "rock" are feminine, not masculine. So what does that mean exactly? It means that Peter is not the rock of Jesus' church. Then what is the rock of Jesus' church? Let's keep reading a little bit. Jesus says, "I will give you the keys to the kingdom." What are those keys to the kingdom? It's not talking about the pearly gates. It's talking about salvation found in the gospel. You see, people are saved by the power of the gospel, Romans 1:16. In other words, Peter would administer the gospel to people. Therefore, the keys to the kingdom is gospel preaching. Peter unlocked the kingdom when he preached the gospel in Acts chapter 2. That's what allowed people to enter into heaven. We see that again in Acts chapter 10 when Peter preaches the gospel to the Gentiles. Peter unlocked the kingdom by preaching the gospel to the Jews and to the Gentiles. And you see, God's kingdom is his body, which is his church, Ephesians chapter 1, verses 22 and 23. And so the gospel and the preaching of it is that rock. And we keep reading, "Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven." Now, people take that translation and run with it. They think that we have authority to bind on earth and that God is going to follow suit up in heaven. As if we're binding and unbinding things on earth, and everyone is up in heaven flipping switches saying, "Oh, they bound it on earth, we got to bind it in heaven now. Oh wait, they loosed it, let's go loose it real quick." But the original Greek tells a different story. A more proper translation of those verbs is this: "Whatever you bind on earth will have already been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will have already been loosed in heaven." In other words, God has already given the standard. It's not on us or Peter or anyone else to invent that standard. It's on us to follow the standard that God has already given us through his word. So to summarize that, God would give Peter the keys to the kingdom which are seen in the gospel. That rock is the saving power of Christ seen in the gospel. Peter would be a vehicle to deliver that gospel and that salvation. But Christ's church does not belong to Peter. It belongs to Christ. Christ said, "I will build my church." We cannot have a church founded off of Peter. We must have a church founded off of Christ. We don't get to bind anything or invent anything new. It's our obligation to follow suit with what God has already said.
This is the Lord's church at Lake Drive Church of Christ.